Happy Friday, America. Our thoughts are certainly with everyone in Florida that's affected by Hurricane Milton this week, and of course everyone that is still digging out and trying to recover from Hurricane Helene. A lot of terrible disasters down in that part of the country. I have family down there, so we're certainly all thinking of you. Today is my dad's birthday, so I want to wish John Batstone a very happy birthday as well. I am his son, Kevin Batstone, and we are here, Happy Friday, America, on the Discussion, Combustion, Production YouTube channel. Hopefully bring you guys a little bit of fun, get your mind off some of the chaos that's going on. That's what we like to do here. And of course, I can't do it without my good buddy across the couch. That is Arthur, the freshly shaved head raw.
The freshly shaved head raw. Yep, I did a hairstyle. The haircut was great, but it just wasn't my style. So I started over fresh. Happy birthday, John. Starting over on a fresh new year. It's crazy, and I hope y'all had the best time up north. Yes, so getting into Happy Friday, I'm happy to be here, man. Name's Arthur, of course, and we got a fantastic show this week for you.
That's right. We're kicking things off today in History Art, October 11th. What do we got?
We got some good stuff here. So 1871, the Great Chicago Fire, which you probably heard about, it lasted for 3 days. It was finally extinguished on the 11th in 1871, and it left approximately 300 dead, 100,000 people homeless, and costed about $222 million in damage. I do believe that is present in the past. That's how much damage it was past then, so it's probably way higher nowadays. That's a 3-day fire.
What's crazy is I watched a documentary not long ago about the great fires of a lot of cities, and it was all around that time. Richmond, Virginia, Chicago, Illinois. A lot of crazy fires took place in that time.
Yeah, I think lighting fires could be a type of warfare.
It certainly is.
I think it can, because you could easily have one spy that could go start a wildfire.
Easily. Arson. And
it'd be so easy.
Hard to prove who started the arson, who arsoned it.
It'd be so easy to do stuff like that, and hopefully we're not giving anybody any ideas.
Absolutely not.
Moving forward in time, 1899. So the first bicycle was patented. The first bicycle was patented by the African-American inventor Issac R. Johnson. And this is also when the infamous debate began. Is it pronounced bicycle or bicycle? We may never know.
This is an ongoing thing. If you've watched any of our shows over the years, I call it a bicycle. I can run you through the exercise, but we just don't have time.
We don't have time today because in 1920, the Phoenix Cardinals, well, at the time, they were actually the Chicago Cardinals. They played their very first game, which was a 0-0 tie against the Chicago Tigers. And so I had to look up who they played against. And so I realized that the Chicago Cardinals, when they first started in 1920, there was also another team that was created, which was the Chicago Tigers. And so what they ended up doing is having a couple rounds where they would play against each other to determine which team would stay and become Chicago's team. Obviously, the Cardinals did beat the Tigers later on a 1-touchdown, 6-0 win, and then ultimately would become the Phoenix Cardinals, which we now know today
as the Arizona Cardinals. Yeah.
Yep. Well, yeah, Phoenix, Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's a little bit of NFL history that I thought was pretty interesting.
I didn't know about that one, Art. So that's kind of fun. Now I know.
I had to do some digging to find that whole story, but I did find out, and it was due to the NFL Hall of Fame website.
104 years ago.
That's a long time ago.
Yes, sir. What do we have?
That is a long time ago.
1957.
1957 had to hit it with some nuke news, baby. It's been a couple weeks. So a fire at the Windscale nuclear plant in Cumbria, England, becomes the world's first major nuclear accident.
Wow.
So I'm not too sure on what occurred afterwards, how far the nuclear debris spread from there. But, folks, that's today in history. There's a lot that happened on the 11th, and this is just a couple key points.
Some juicy juice over there. Wow. Over there in Cumbria, England. Well, speaking of England, got a fun story here for you, Art. A woman put in a job application almost 50 years ago, 48 to be exact, to be a stunt motorcycle driver.
Okay.
That's pretty fun. Can you imagine applying for that position and what that would look like?
Yeah.
And then never hearing back. Never heard a word, right? You're just sitting there like, I guess I didn't get the job, so I'm going to move on. And, in fact, she did. So Tizzy Hodson, 70-year-old from Lincolnshire over there in the UK, put it in, wanted to be a motorcycle stunt driver, never heard anything, went on about her life. She ended up moving to Africa and is now a snake handler and a horse whisperer. So obviously that extreme passion for adrenaline continued, right?
Yeah, with the snake handling for sure.
Yeah, you gotta be wound up pretty aggressively, I think, to want to wrangle snakes and to be, a horse whisperer. That's pretty cool. So as time went on, she ends up hearing back almost 48 years later.
48 years later.
From this organization. They said, well, your application fell behind a file cabinet. It was hidden away. We didn't see it for forever. And finally, they were able to track her down because she moved. She moved to Africa. She'd moved from X, Y, and Z. They tracked it down and said, hey, sorry, we decided to go with someone else.
Oh, I thought they said that they were going to go with her.
50 years later.
Yeah, like as like a joke. Be like, hey, I'm sorry, we would have hired you, so you're hired now.
That was part of the joke.
Oh, okay.
They're like, sorry we went with someone else, but hey, we got a new opening if you want to take it.
Oh, okay. That is funny.
That's kind of funny.
Because at like 70, do you really want to go do stunts?
No.
No, you
Absolutely not. I mean, you think 48 years ago, she would have been 22. So that's kind of the stunt motorcycle age. But the fact that they even reached out is pretty cool. They could have just thrown it out like, this is just some old piece of mail. They tracked her down. They got back to her. Fun story.
See, that's where you have fun with life. Because, you could have just thrown it out. But instead, they did a little digging. They're like, who is this lady? And then they end up finding her and then highlighting this great life. I think it's a great article in here. And that it shows us how to still have fun with it.
Yeah.
Because it's all what we make of it, right?
Yeah.
And it is interesting that they still reach out 48 years later. I think that's hilarious.
Yep. Hey, we still haven't filled the position.
It's a cool company. You can tell it's cool.
Still there if you want it.
48 years later, I don't know, man. What's the how long does a career as like a bike stunt person last?
I feel like that's a short career.
Yeah, like maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years.
If you don't get hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're doing motorcycle stunts, very dangerous stuff, Evel Knievel type stuff. Pretty cool, man. I just think that's fun that they reached out and this made it into the story, and it was on HFA this week as our feature story.
Hey, I like that as the feature story. Your dreams can always come true. You just might have outgrown your dreams.
This is true.
Sometimes that's what happens. Or your dreams come true and you started thinking about new dreams and you're not even recognizing the dreams that you're living in that you used to have. What's up with that, people?
What is up with that?
But one dream that a person from North Carolina was able to obtain is they, like you when growing up, Kevin, have a heavy interest in meteorology. Our man Ethan Clark, a huge contributor to helping people during the Helene storm and providing an unbiased, trusted, up-to-date weather updates. And so he was one of the most trusted sources during Hurricane Helene. This guy, Ethan Clark, he was a college student. What he would do, he's been doing this since 2017, kind of tracking weather and looking at stuff like that. So I think he was 16 originally when he started looking at this, and he was starting to track this storm coming in. So this was he issued a strong warning. He said it's supposed to bring life-threatening flash floods to western North Carolina. So I'm gonna walk you through everything, he explained, and then he begins to go over a video which include graphics he put together of the storm. So he's like coming up with his own forecast on this thing. And in this article, which was a pretty good read, there was a lot of quotes from people that were listening, and his information actually helped save their lives. So how can we ever express to you what your calm and accurate, no hype forecast and explanations mean to us? Thank you. Thank you, Ethan, for always going above and beyond. One family told that she got a single parent to come to Raleigh and leave town. There was a person that thanked him because they left based on his warnings and their entire house was destroyed. So he was doing a really good job out there. We know like we mentioned at the beginning of the show, that it's pretty rough. We have more bad storms coming in, but thanks to guys like Ethan Clark, people are actually able to make quick action and move on this stuff. So that's like the HFA hero of the week is Ethan Clark.
Yeah, Ethan, solid lad. Look, predicting weather and reporting it is a tough job. Because you have a lot of pressure on you. You're basically making the call of, the wind surges, how much rainfall there's going to be, things that directly impact people's day-to-day lives in their homes. And so, weather and media, as we've seen, is so propagandized, and a lot of it is fear-driven. And it's certainly, you have a natural disaster coming. That's fear. For the folks in Tampa that left, hopefully got out in time. Folks that are still there, weathering it out.
I know people that are in shelters right now that can't be at home.
A lot of people are hunkering down. We, of course, recording this right as Milton is making landfall.
Yeah, so we're not too sure what's happening with that.
It's probably not going to be good. But, the folks that are there have made the decision to stay. Some folks have left. And a lot of these reports, that we see from the Weather Channel and a lot of other, media organizations are just straight fear. There's some misinformation. So the fact that we can have a lad that's just trying to look at the facts, look at the weather, report on it, and try to help the community make the best decisions they can, I like it. Because when it comes to trying to forecast something like a hurricane, it's tough. Mm-hmm. You don't know exactly where the flood surges are going to, rise tides and rise rivers and lakes and things that can flood your neighborhood. You don't know how fast those wind gusts are going to rip trees that are going to come flying through your window. Very difficult thing to do. So the best way to do it, I think, is to be transparent and honest and give the best information you can. It sounds like Ethan Clark's a solid lad doing that.
Yeah, definitely like the work he's doing, helping others and using his information and knowledge to potentially save lives. And it sounds like he's doing that. So moving on, next week, of course, are jumping into this week's random record brought to you by Mr. Batstone, of course.
Kev's random records. What do we got this week? Don't worry, David Rush. He's still in the lineup.
Okay.
We're not bringing him in every week because he's now the all-time holder. So we'll check back in with Dave here in a few weeks. But this week we do have a Canadian lad who does speed eating. This one made my stomach hurt as I was reading it. I love hot sauce. I love sriracha.
Yeah.
I love flavor. But I don't love it this much, Art. The man ate 2 pounds and 7 ounces of sriracha hot sauce in just around 3 minutes. And he slurped it through a straw. He was using a spoon to feed in the sriracha. Sriracha is pretty hot. It's hot.
It's thick, too.
It's thick.
It's hot.
A chili sauce.
It definitely gets a lot hotter, like, the more that you eat it.
Yeah.
Like, you don't realize how hot it is until you overdo it.
He drank it through a Capri Sun straw. We know how thin those are. The Capri Suns, you'd stab it in the bag. He slurped it through that, and he was spooning it in to eat
Why
this
Capri
sriracha.
Sun straw?
I thought
Why not like a boba tea straw?
Well, because I think it was the flow. Because a Capri Sun is so small in circumference, it was allowing enough of a flow, but not too much. Because I feel like if you're drinking hot sauce, I feel like if you get too much of it, it's going to fuck up your rhythm. So the Capri Sun straw allowed for a steady flow to where he was able to swallow it.
Yeah.
Because for me, I'd probably start gagging a couple ounces in.
Yeah, no, see, this is something I wouldn't even want to participate in unless if there was like a ridiculous
money
cash
prize
payout.
But think about the pain that your intestines and your body's going to go through.
Am I allowed to go throw up afterwards?
I don't think that's part of the rules.
Like, after like 20 minutes, like I kind of disappear for a little bit. Like, who's monitoring my bathroom usage after a stunt like that to make sure that you don't throw up?
Well, remember when our friend David Rush did the lemon juice? He had to drink lemon juice in a certain time. He did do vomiting, but he had to hold it down for an X amount of time. I think it was 6 hours.
6 hours.
And think about that. By the time 6 hours go by, your body's already digesting it. It's being processed. You're not going to be able to yak a lot of it out.
That's messed up. I would not want to digest 2 pounds.
7 ounces.
And 7 ounces
basically over 2.5
sriracha.
Pounds. 2.5 pounds of sriracha. One bottle I have in my fridge will last me 2 years. He drank 2.5 of those bottles.
Ugh.
It's insanity.
I don't like that one.
Insanity.
I hope he's doing okay. I really do.
I hope he's doing all right as well. That's my random record for the week. Now we move on to the Would You Rather segment of the program. Of course, we got to dial it back to last week, Art, when we asked the viewers with this wonderful fern that was over your shoulder last week and now over mine. We asked the viewers of America, would you rather go with real plants or fake plants? Pros and cons to both. We, of course, gave the pros as to why
I think America's going real plants on this.
Yeah. America did go real plants.
Yes.
America went 71% real.
That's right, baby.
29% fake, which is about the numbers we predicted. I figured a 70-30 on this. I wasn't sure if it was going to go fake or real, but real plants for the win. I'm pretty sure you and I unanimously took real.
Okay. Yes, we did.
Last week. So there you have it, folks. What do we got this week, Art? I have not read it yet.
Okay. It's funny because I didn't read the random record either.
Uh-oh.
And then this one is also hot sauce related.
Fuck.
Okay. So
I already don't
first
like
of all, thank you, everybody, for your participation in the weekly Would You Rather. And this week's Would You Rather is, look, you have to give up one of these for the rest of your life. Are you giving up hot sauces, like all hot sauces, or are you giving up all barbecue sauces? Which one are you giving up? And we might have to talk about the rules on this because you have like a spicy barbecue sauce. So where does that fall within it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, just because you threw that in, I've already decided that I will take barbecue sauce.
No, but does that count?
It counts. Has to count because, I mean, barbecue ranges from smoky to spicy to salty to sweet to tangy. That's like part of the barbecue sauce culture.
Yeah.
It's not a hot sauce, though, because I talk to a lot of people that just don't like barbecue sauce. Hot, smoky, you name it.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm taking hot sauce. And I know there's a lot of folks that are going to
Yeah.
go hot sauce 100%. I'm going to take the barbecue sauce. It is a tough one, though, because I love my hot sauce, man. I just
Yeah.
talked about sriracha. I just talked about...
Which one do you use more during your day-to-day? Or do you use more barbecue day-to-day, or you use more hot sauce day-to-day?
That's a good question.
Like, I think I actually use more hot sauce more regularly than I'm dipping shit in barbecue. But, like, for me, I don't know if I could give up barbecue.
I can't. Well, I could, but I'm going to choose not to. And I'm going
Yeah.
to keep barbecue. I'm going to 86 the hot sauce. I don't love it.
Yeah.
I don't love that because I love Tapatio. Was one of my favorites. You know, I love the spice. I like the ghost peppers. I like the hot shit. But because in the barbecue world, they have their own version of
They
it.
have that,
I
like,
wouldn't
mustard.
consider the spicy barbecue to be hot sauce because you're not
Yeah,
you're
but
not
it's
going to
still
use
spicy.
you're not going to put it on a taco.
I mean, you could.
Unless you're doing like a barbacoa barbecue
sounds
type
good.
taco.
That sounds
But
really
you know what I
good.
mean? Like your traditional things that you would want to dab a hot sauce on can't really be replaced with barbecue sauce. It's just going to change the flavor profile. For me being a barbecue guy, I love BBQ sauce. I've loved it since I was a kid. The hot sauce has got to go. Not an easy decision.
Yeah, I was happy when I came up with that one today, and it was while I was eating hot sauce. And I'm
What
giving
better
up,
time?
I'm giving up the hot sauce too.
You keeping the barbecue?
I'm keeping the barbecue.
I wasn't
man.
expecting that.
No, I use hot sauce way more, but honestly, like there's something about those Daytona wings. There's something about
yeah.
dipping a chip in barbecue sauce.
So good.
You have like the mustard barbecue sauces. You have all these different BBQ sauces. It could be kind of light, a little
Stubbs, baby.
a little Worcestershire barbecue
Jalapeno honey.
sauce. Yeah.
And that's good. That's
God.
why I did those last wings I did on the smoker was jalapeno
Yeah.
honey barbecue.
Yeah, I can't give up the BBQ sauce. I think I use hot sauce more than barbecue currently in my life, but I'm giving up the hot sauce. America,
That's a tough one.
are you giving up hot sauce? Or are you giving up barbecue sauces? What's it going to be?
I'm curious. I don't know which way America's going to go.
That's
going to
be a tough one. That's going to be a tough one.
That's a tough one. I'm going to do a little bit of recon too throughout the week. And just
Okay.
ask people at work and things of that
Yeah,
nature.
that's a fun one. That's a fun one.
And see where they land. That's a good would you rather. As Art said, go over to the Twitter X, take the polls. You know, let us know, comment below, whatever, what you're thinking. We certainly appreciate it. I love Texas barbecue, and I love Texas. And one thing that Texas just announced this week is that they are going to host what Denver, Colorado did before I lived here in the 90s. They're going to do a street course through downtown Dallas. It's going to go right by the Cowboys Stadium.
I didn't know Denver did that.
Denver did it before I lived here. They raced from Spear Boulevard around the old Pepsi Center.
Oh, that's cool.
Same kind of idea here. You know, IndyCar, it's a great motorsport. You know, a lot of folks think NASCAR, F1. IndyCar does have a place. Of course, we think of the Indy 500. It's a great motorsport. It's going to be a 2.73-mile track layout, and they're eyeballing March of 26 for the first Grand Prix.
Okay.
It's going to go by the Texas Rangers Globe Life Field. It's going to go by the Dallas Cowboys AT&T Stadium in downtown Arlington. So Texas has been struggling with the motorsports market. I've talked about this a little bit on MTG with them pulling NASCAR out of Texas Motor Speedway twice a year. So, you know, it's cool to see them trying to bring in these other opportunities. I could see what NASCAR has done with Chicago, them possibly following this race course that they're going to lay out and maybe do a downtown Dallas, Texas race. Either way, I love it. I love when we try new motorsports in different areas. I'd love to see Denver get on board with something like this again.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the road course is a really unique, fun showcase of the motorsports. I don't know 100%. Like, I would support, you know, them doing NASCAR on Spear and doing all that. Like, that's not really going to impact me that much.
No.
But for the people that, like, live in these areas,
pain.
you know, how do they feel about this type of stuff?
So
Majority are the people from what area was it?
Dallas. It's Arlington, Dallas.
So are the majority of Dallasites? Would they be a Dallasite? Is
Yeah.
that the right way to say it?
Dallasite.
Are the Dallas? Hey,
They're Texans.
Hey, Dallas.
They're Texans.
Are you in favor of this in your neck of the woods or what?
I'm sure there's a handful of people. Like I talked to
I'd be
some
like,
folks
yeah.
in Chicago.
2 days?
It's there's a little more prep that goes
Yeah.
into it with them put barriers, closing down roads. We saw it with Vegas F1 last year, total disaster in Vegas, by the way, with F1. But Chicago did it right with NASCAR. I think Dallas can do it right. What was cool with Chicago did it is you would see people in their apartments that were able to just chill on their balconies and watch it.
That would be cool.
And they're like, this is cool. You know, guys that never had a motorsport experience, they got it right outside their, their house, their apartment, whatever. So I think it's fun. It's far enough out where people can plan. They're aware of what's going to happen. So it's not like, they just came in here and took over our neighborhood without us knowing. Plenty of time to prepare for it. It's in a heavily, city area. So, I don't think it's too much residential that's going to be impacted. But I think it's cool. Great for Dallas.
I think it is cool. And honestly, it would be so much fun to attend one of those events. Look, seeing stuff on TV never really does it justice, just like pictures don't do mountains justice. And like, you got to go see a race. You got to see it in person. And
Absolutely.
I think the road courses are hella fun. So yeah, they'll be taking over in 2026. A group of raccoons have also taken over in a Washington's woman's at a woman's property in Washington. So
we watched the video to this.
We did watch a video. This was as of October 9th, so not too long ago. This lady in Washington apparently had been feeding raccoons from her residence for 35 years. Now, it could have been more. We don't know. Almost 4 decades. This lady was feeding raccoons. And then all of a sudden, the local police department gets a call, and they're coming out there because this woman, her property is overran by like 100 raccoons. You see this video. The link's in the show notes, but there's a ton of raccoons. Apparently, she was trying to keep it low key at first, and she was seeing if she could get a private contractor to come out here and remove a pest control to come remove raccoons. She was quoted $500 per raccoon. So imagine that bill to pay to relocate 100 raccoons. The police have gotten the State Fish and Wildlife Department involved to help relocate these animals, to look into this situation. We don't know the conclusion on this one just yet, but ultimately what happened here is a lady was feeding the wildlife, and it ended up being a problem that she created.
Watching that video back with you before we jumped on, I mean, she made it sound like, this has only happened just 6 weeks ago, but then admitted to feeding these creatures for 35 years. I mean, there's no doubt that these animals build a trust in the fact that they can come to this region and there's going to be food. They're going to stay there. The other raccoons are going to tell their friends, their family, we found it, man. We're living out like a king over here.
Yeah.
And so this is, I think it got out of hand, and she realized it was too far out of hand.
Yeah.
And was like, all right, we got to get the officials involved. And according to that, this is gonna fall on her a little bit, because they now have to bring in their resources to relocate these animals into the wild. It's not an easy. I mean, there was 100 raccoons on her property.
Yeah, and okay, so that just doesn't appear like that. I mean, maybe the raccoons had a really good mating season, and maybe there's 20 new raccoons or something this season. Maybe that's what happened. But this population's been relying on her for long enough, and apparently she's walking to her car and running to her car so she doesn't get quote unquote mauled by the hungry pack of raccoons at her door.
She created it.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah,
completely overran. Her food supply was completely annihilated by 100 raccoons.
I mean, look, there's going to be a common theme here as we segue into the next one. Don't feed these animals.
Yeah.
Don't feed them. I mean, they look cute. They do. You want to give them a handful of something. But
it's fun watching things eat.
It is. And you feel like, I'm helping this thing sustain life. The intentions are good, but there's ramifications, folks.
There is.
And this leads me to don't feed the geese either.
Okay.
Right outside our studio here in Aurora, Colorado, we have our friends. We call them the local dinosaur population.
Yeah, the dinosaur population.
Canadian geese.
Yeah.
They're cool. They howl at each other. They're living life out there. We don't feed them, but other people do. You can tell they add a little bit of value. Geese are cool. We're at the point in the year where they're migrating. They're coming from Canada. They're coming south, right? Hence the Canadian geese. Everyone sees them. They're very noticeable and recognizable calls that they make. They sound like mating calls, but I really just think that's that's just them doing them. So up in the Portland area, the Parks Department is basically saying stop feeding these geese, because now it's starting to become a health risk for these animals, and it's causing deformities within them called an angel wing, which I didn't know anything about until I read this article. This is a long article. I would recommend the folks go down. I'm just going to hit on a couple points on it. But basically, this is another result of overfeeding and creating a problem to where now it's impacting the animal's life itself. Feeding these animals, they're already eating the bugs and critters that they're supposed to be eating. If folks show up with things like bagels and bread and just tortillas, carb-heavy things that these animals were not designed to eat, and when they're young and they're in the growing phase, it's causing their wings to deform because the feathers are outgrowing the bones. The structure of the animal is not growing because it's being essentially malnourished. It isn't malnourished, but you're feeding it things that the animal's not supposed to eat, and it's causing these animals not to be able to fly.
It's outside of like their regular diet that they evolved with.
Correct.
Yeah.
It'd be, I mean,
it's kind of like with humans too.
I was
like
going to say.
The same food is messing us up.
Yeah. You ever seen 600-Pound Life? Me either. I don't watch that trash, but it happens. So the moral of the story is don't feed the geese. Because it's hurting the animals, and which ultimately then hurts everything around it. You got injured birds that can't take flight, and now the wildlife is coming in to try to do things. And basically they're saying, look, if folks just stop feeding them their bread and their leftovers, we could probably reduce this. You're never going to completely stop it. Birds are going to eat garbage, and they're going to find things to munch on. But this is just another example, man. You got raccoons, infesting your area because you're feeding them, and now you're hurting the wildlife. You think you're doing good, but you're actually hurting these geese. Yeah,
you're being selfish because it's fun to watch animals eat. So if you really want to respect this wildlife, then just observe. Like that's really, you take a step back and stop being selfish. Look, I'm guilty. I don't feed them all the time, but I have fed the ducks tortillas in the past, and now after hearing this and rereading this and thinking about it, like, I shouldn't be feeding the ducks anything unless if I'm going to like some kind of organic like duck food supply place and getting something that is nutrient rich with insects and local vegetation.
Even then though, like unless you were raising the duck or the goose for slaughter or whatever, that would make sense. But like use my fish as an example. She'll keep eating if I keep putting food in there. They'll always appear hungry. Yeah. And so these critters they're eating the bugs. And so they might seem hungry to you because they're coming up to you with this food we're almost training them, almost domesticating these ducks and these geese. They're not used to that. I mean, these geese out here, we go walking out there, they don't even think twice about it.
Yeah, they're just hanging out.
They're like, oh, maybe someone will feed us, which we don't do. And I grew up on Lake Winnipesaukee, and don't feed the ducks was a huge, huge memo that I learned young. So I just kind of never did it. And so it's good to kind of reiterate these things because, again, folks think they're doing a nice gesture and helping the wildlife of the community, but you might actually be hurting them.
Yeah. Stop feeding the animals. Don't feed the raccoons. And honestly, we got to control our own portion control and do better to eat healthier and sustain more healthy lifestyles as well. Because what's not good for the animals is not good for us either. But we give the excuse for us to eat it for some reason.
It's funny how that works. All we can do is control what we can control and try to make the best decisions we can. Going into the weekend, Art, what do you got going on, man? What's on your world this weekend?
Man, it's going to be a great weekend. I'm celebrating people that I care about. We're doing another trips around the sun. It's so exciting. Makes me want to play some music and have a fiesta. And this weekend in Ashland, Kentucky, we do have a music and arts festival going on. That's both Saturday and Sunday.
Good times down there, of course. Folks impacted by the hurricanes maybe can get up into Kentucky a little bit, go have some fun. And same with Nashville, Tennessee. They got the Breakaway Music Fest going on. Nashville, of course, one of the music capitals of the country, doing some amazing things down there. Definitely want to get out. I talked about Dallas, Texas. They do have the Festival of Speed going on.
Festival of Speed.
It's not as cool as the one that they do over in London, so all you gearheads, don't get too excited. But the Festival of Speed Texas is cool, and it wraps up this weekend with the NHRA that's in town. Great racing series if you like drag racing. We lost Bandamere here in Denver, so if you have a drag strip like they do in Dallas, enjoy it. Go have some fun with the Festival of Speed. And, of course, we know it's NASCAR.
Yep.
It's a cutoff race. It's at the Roval Art. You like that track.
Roval's cool.
Yeah.
I kind of like, how I was expressing the road courses, how I think it's fun. I think the Roval, which is a road course inside of the oval, is also I think it's a cool race. I think it's a fun race, but you don't like it so much.
I liked it when we first brought it to market our first year, and then as we've done it a few years now, they've changed it a little bit. I like the road courses that we do currently go to, places like Circuit of the Americas, Sonoma, Watkins Glen, actual natural road courses. Trying to build one in the oval. I love that oval track that we're racing on, and I feel like we're losing a little bit of that oval fun to Charlotte Motor Speedway, but the Roval's cool. It's on the schedule again for next year. I think that'll be the last time we go. So, hey, if you're in Charlotte, obviously Western North Carolina got impacted pretty severely. I know they're doing a lot of relief for the hurricane people as well. If you've been impacted home, whatever, Charlotte is one of their disaster relief grounds. So not only is it going to be race weekend, they're also offering a lot of help for the hurricane folks that were impacted. ticket admissions in some cases I hear are going to be compensated for tomorrow on Saturday. So that's kind of cool that NASCAR is helping out a little bit in that community.
For sure. I definitely like that. And thank you for tuning in and helping out with this community of the Discussion Combustion Happy Friday channel that we got going here, and also supporting the Mash the Gas weekly drop on NASCAR. And so check us out if you haven't on Instagram and Facebook, Happy Friday USA. On X, Happy Fry USA. Send us an email, happyfridayamerica@gmail.com. Let's bring in the weekend, and we hope that everyone stays safe. Thank you.